Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stand. It's match day. Bum 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 bum. How are you all doing anyway? Hope you're all doing very well this morning. It is your latest Manchester United news on the United Stand. Lots to talk about. Player backlash against Jadon Sancho. It was only a matter of time. Stop it now, Jadon, is the message coming from key Manchester United players as they demand an apology so everybody can move on from this embarrassing saga. We'll talk about that as well. Also, Amrabat is expected to be starting tonight. A few other bits to talk about as well. I just want to signpost you to something as well. On a personal level, I've had enough of VAR. Wheels are in motion. I think it needs to go. Please listen to the new podcast, Goldbridge Saves Football. We're starting a revolution. We're starting a movement. You can be part of it. I know a lot of you have listened to the podcast anyway, but if you haven't, it's out this morning. You can look, just type Goldbridge Saves Football. Links in the video description. It's in the live chat as well. First 2 minutes are really important to any... I mean, the whole 45 minutes is very important to football fans as we tear apart Pratt Pundit of the Week. It's got very much Man United themes on that. Links in the live chat, but please do give a listen to it because I think it really... puts it across in a very factual way why we as fans have got to start doing something about VAR, because if we don't, then the game is just going to keep having weekends like last weekend where it's just an absolute farce. So listen to the podcast, really important if you love your football, especially around Pratt Pundits, the mainstream, and VAR. Links in the live chat, Goldbridge Saves Football, Spotify, iTunes, and everywhere else. Right, let's get into the show this morning in relation to Manchester United, and we've got some interesting stories that actually came out late last night. The ESPN saying Jadon Sancho has been urged to apologise to Ten Hag by his teammates. The Mirror going further with that and saying that Marcus Rashford, Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw and other Man United teammates have urged Jadon Sancho to end his ongoing feud with Erik Ten Hag. Well, I'd say this straight away. It's about bloody time. You know, if I was a player in that dressing room, I'd have made that call a long time ago. Maybe they have. But they certainly need to do this because we spoke about this quite in depth last night, so I don't want to go over it again, and we're a news show and we'll react to the news. But if you're in that dressing room and you've got a relationship with this player, which we know Marcus Rashford has, and we would imagine some of the English players do, you know, he's been part of the England squad before he was at Manchester United, the likes of Luke Shaw, very popular in the England dressing room, especially with people at other clubs such as Mason Mount and Declan Rice. Obviously, Mount's currently at Manchester United. So people like Luke Shaw, who is a leader in the Man United dressing room, will have a relationship with Sancho. Harry Maguire was formerly the captain. Marcus Rashford is believed to be tight with Jadon Sancho. So, look, this is good news and it's needed. We've spoken about how there's really a lot of footballers out there who are quite clearly influenced by arse-lickers. And arse-lickers are people who just hang around footballers because they want that glamour. You know, they want to be, oh, well, he's my mate, this, that and the other. And they'll never say anything bad against them. So I think it's really important when we get stories like this coming out that Man United players, whatever you think about those players individually as a talent, it's really important that they are saying to Sancho, look, you know, what do you think you're doing? You're part of this football club. You're part of this dressing room. It's embarrassing. He's the manager. Apologise and prove him wrong. At the very least, prove him wrong. It's weak-minded to be, I'm stubborn. I mean, what does he want? What does he want Ten Hag to do? Turn around, come round to his house? He'd probably have to pause his EAFC game first, wouldn't he? And Ten Hag to sit there and say, I'm sorry, Jadon. I have been favouring Rashford and Anthony over you, and I'll stop doing it now. It's not going to happen. You know, it's not going to happen. And I think that it's encouraging that whether it, you know, how much truth is in it, we don't know. But I think it's encouraging, and it reflects well on the dressing room that they are backing the manager publicly, and these stories do come out. And I always suspect when it comes out from the Mirror that there is an element of truth there. As I've always said, since Ten Hag's been there, they seem to have good connects with Ten Hag. And why would the players not be backing Erik Ten Hag? I mean, Rashford never gets subbed. Bruno never gets subbed. You know, Luke Shaw is a very important player. Mason Mount will be a very important player as well. So I think that this is really encouraging news that the players are coming out backing the manager, because if we look at it last week, and it was very important what Fabrizio said when he was speaking to Beth yesterday about how the story of leaks from the dressing room and Ten Hag under pressure were massively over-egged, which is the second time Romano's sat Samuel Luckhurst down, isn't it? Because it's Romano all summer said that we're after Amrabat, and it was Luckhurst who said that United were pulling a face at that deal, and yet Amrabat will be playing for Man United tonight. So I think there was an over-exaggeration about disharmony in the dressing room, and I think stories like this are, we jump on the leaks from the dressing room, don't we? Rob Hawks says, I'm loving the podcast, Mark, and the EAFC career modes. Tired of this Sancho story. The quicker he's gone, the better. Thanks, Rob. Welcome to Members Club, Jacob. And it's more letting down his teammates with all the injuries. Exactly, Josh. There are strands to this that I just wanted to focus on. But when there is a leak from the dressing room, like there was last week, there is this anger in the fan base because we're tired of it. But I think the flip side of that story is that when you get a story like this morning, where you hear about players that are telling Sancho to apologise, we should jump on that the other way. There has to be a balance. There has to be a seesaw here. And there has to be a set of scales. And yes, it's infuriating when you hear about negative leaks against the manager. But I think it's encouraging in the same way when you hear positive leaks about the manager, that players are really looking at the Sancho situation and saying, what are you doing, mate? Like, what are you doing? And absolutely, as that super chat just said there, this is not just about PR. If I was Marcus Rashford's agent or I was Harry Maguire's agent, I would be saying, you know what, there's a great PR piece here. If we get our name attached to a story where we're asking Sancho to apologise, it looks really good for us and our popularity goes up. So there is a PR piece there. But more importantly, if you care about your career and you care about the club that you're playing for, there's a really important piece here as to, you know what, we're meant to be I know they're multimillionaires. I get that they're multimillionaires and sometimes footballers can seem like they're islands. They're only interested in themselves. But I tell you what, whatever team you've played for, whether it's a school team, a pub team or Manchester United, you are a team, and you do have that them against us attitude if you do it properly. That's exactly how a team should operate. And when you've got somebody rolling up to training that's not allowed to eat with you, that's not allowed to train with you, that's turning up late, that's in the newspapers every morning or being spoken about every morning, that's really quite disheartening when you look at it and you go, he's not a bad lad, he's a really good player, he's not injured. This is bloody ridiculous. Like, he should be in the dressing room with us, training with us as part of this unit, trying to achieve something for this football club, for us individually, and for the fans and everybody else. So forget the positive PR of being a name attached to asking Sancho to apologise. Actually, come on, mate. You're part of this team. You're paid by this club. You're part of this team, and you're actually against us. You're an enemy of us at the moment. Like you are. We have enough things to deal with. There's people trying to bring us down every day. If we play Liverpool or Man City, we're probably going to get humiliated at the moment because we're nowhere near the level we need to be. And you're a story. You're meant to be with us, and actually you're a story against us. It's not on. Like, sort it out. You might have your issues, but whatever happened to just buckling down, working hard for a move, and proving people wrong? This doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to apologise. I'm not going to train. It's ridiculous. And I tell you what, one thing I didn't say last night, I need a sip of coffee for this. One thing I didn't say last night is that, last season with Sancho, I've never, and I'm sure some people in the chat have got an example of it. Francesco says, morning, Mark. One thing that concerns me with our current squad is that there's not a veteran established player that others can look up to. That didn't work well with Ronaldo, Franklin, to be honest. They didn't look up to him. They wouldn't follow him. Relation to Sancho, its current theme in life lately, unfortunately, most, not all millennials have a poor attitude to work. Life like owes them something, says Netflix and Chilwell. Well, I blame Simon Cowell. I blame Simon Cowell and the X Factor, because that show basically said that any idiot with no talent can be famous and earn loads of money. And I think that's, I think you're right. I think that unfortunately there's been some bad role models for people, probably from the year 2000 to about 2020. I think a lot of the youth today have had bad role models. It's a serious point, but it's the X Factor generation. I can have anything and I don't have to work for it. I can just sing like a twat and I'll get a deal. Look at Ollie Murs, so it can happen. But I think it's changing now. I think you've got role models out there that show you that talent and work is what it's all about. And I think we are starting to see that coming back. And I think society will be better for it. It's a great point. I love those sort of things. But back onto Sancho, two things that strike me. One, I've never known a player not injured go off for 3 months and be given time off. I think that was incredible by the club. I think it was incredible by Ten Hag. And it showed the effort and support for a player that in a really crucial season, we took a player out of the firing line and gave him time. I've never known that happen before, and it doesn't get spoken about enough because yet again, you'll get it pisses me off actually, you'll get the mainstream media who will go after Ten Hag because he's using an agency to get players that he wants, or because we've lost 3 out of our first 6, oh, it's time to go. But they won't talk about the good things. They won't talk about the fact that we came third. They won't talk about the fact that we won a trophy. And they won't talk about the fact that he did something unprecedented and allowed a very important player who cost us a lot of money to take 3 months off football at a time where we needed him. And doesn't get spoken about a lot. I've never really heard that happen before. I really haven't heard that before. And I think it was incredible that he did it. The second thing I was going to say is, on the other hand, I've never known a player at a top club do this, where they literally are publicly on strike and refusing to apologise. There has been things, but it's a massive contrast, and we are living in unprecedented times. Again, I just don't. We've had a lot of bad things go on around the club in the last 2 years, but it is incredible that we do have a player that is effectively, apparently not allowed to eat with the team, not allowed to train with the team, not allowed into the dressing room with the team. There is a right standoff and it is very tense. And apparently it's being driven by the fact that Sancho won't apologise to the manager and the coaches. So, yeah, look, there needs. I just think, and the best thing is, look, I don't want to throw my one of my children under the bus here in a sense of getting them into trouble. So I won't identify which one it is. But one of them's quite tempestuous, probably takes after their mother. And when they're in trouble, there was a time when they were at a certain age, when they were in trouble, they'd get in trouble and we'd say, right, just go to your room for 10 minutes and calm down. And every step of the way up the stairs, they'd be shouting, stuff. And you'd go, right, 20 minutes. 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 35 minutes. And they'd end up, a whole half of football in their room. And when they'd calmed down and they were back to normal, you'd go, if you just apologised, you wouldn't have even gone to your room. And if you'd just gone to your room for 10 minutes, you'd have been fine. And I feel like Sancho's a little bit like that. It's like, this could have all been dealt with. And look, all this stubbornness, inevitably, you will apologise, you will get a second chance, and all this 3 weeks is a big waste of time. There is nothing that's going to benefit from him other than petulance. There is nothing. This is not going to benefit him, and that's why players are now saying, "Come on, apologise," and that's why we're talking about it. He is going to apologise. Like, he is going to apologise. You are going to apologise, Jaden. So you should have just done it 3 weeks ago. I mean, you never should have done the tweet, but you did it. But you should have apologised because you're going to apologise. And everyone knows you will apologise because you have to. Because if you don't, you're messing your whole career up. So it is amazing. But I suppose what it does do is it shows you that even the richest footballers in the world are just human beings who make mistakes like the rest of you. Hi, Mark, and me as well. Hi, Mark. It's my birthday today. I'd like to just say I love the channel and keep up the good work. Says Addy. Thank you very much. Welcome to Members Club SRC. Mark, I'm playing Goldbridge ball and my players are out of juice after the first half. Any tips for this? Says Ryan. Well, you need a big squad. And Matt says, I don't like seeing fans stick up for Sancho and blame Ten Hag. How would they have dealt with Fergie with the likes of Stam, Keane, Beckham? Well, look, I'm not here to I'm not here to say what everybody wants me to say because I can't please everybody, and that's not how the United Stand works. I see these people on Twitter sticking up for Jadon Sancho. As I said, they'll be jobless for most of their lives. They better hope they've got rich parents because they won't be having a job and they won't be able to hold a job down if they think it's acceptable for a player at any football club to publicly undermine their manager, well, you're going to be jobless for most of your life, and you need to, you need to get your head in the game. It goes back to what we're on about before. Unfortunately, when you run a running race at school, you might all win. Some schools do that. Running race, sports day, everybody gets first prize. I tell you what, when you go in the real world, everybody don't get first prize. When you're in the real world, you might deserve a job and someone will get it for unknown reasons. When you're in the real world, things don't go your way. When you're in the real world, things aren't fair. So let them play their silly little games on Twitter where they stick up for Jadon Sancho or they think everything's got to be fair. You're never going to make life like that. It's never going to be like that because life isn't fair. You need to grow up and realise that, especially in competitive sport, look at what Pep's done. You undermine Pep, you're gone. Do you think Pep Guardiola would ever put up with a player putting a tweet up about him and it would be like, oh, everything's fine? You don't win. Look, you're only as strong as your weakest link. You can have the best team in the world, but if somebody within that team is causing an issue, things will start to crumble from that weak point. It's like a sandcastle, isn't it? Have you ever built a sandcastle and it looks really good, but there's one little dry bit on the little corner and it starts crumbling, and eventually a bit of wind and it crumbles and it crumbles and the rest of the castle looks really firm, but that one bit is the weak point and it will take the castle down. And that is how you build a competitive winning team. You are only as strong as your weakest point. And these people who start going, oh, Sancho's in the right, Sancho's in the right. I'm like, you don't support Manchester United. You support individual players. That's what you do. Because if you are supporting an individual player over the greater good of the team and the manager, you don't support Manchester United. Because it is wrong to support somebody who is trying to bring it down. And even if you do support him, what's your end game? Ten Hag sacked? That's not good for the club. That's another manager that comes in who wants another 500 million, who wants to get rid of a different set of players. It's more transition. I mean, I like individual players. I'm a big fan of Højlund. I'm a big fan of Rashford. I'm a big fan of Bruno. I'm a big fan of Casemiro, Varane. There's plenty of them. Martinez, Luke Shaw. But I'll tell you what, if Luke Shaw put a tweet out saying, the manager's in the wrong, I do train well, etc., etc., I'd say he's bang out of order because the team has to come first. Manchester United has to come first. There is no individual at Manchester United that is bigger than Manchester United. But some people support football in that way. Hopefully Amrabat will inject some tenacity. Eriksen is a bystander out of possession. And when Casemiro's off his game, the midfield gets overrun, says Rian. And can't wait for tonight's game. I feel pumped for every game since Burnley, says Jack. I'm with you, Jack. I think we've got a run of 4 games now at home. Crystal Palace in the League Cup tonight. Crystal Palace in the League on Saturday. Galatasaray and then Brentford in the League. So 4 home games. They're different when they're at home. We can get beat at home. We've seen that against Brighton. But that team hit a low point against Burnley. I mean, a high point in relation to the win. But the team selection was concerning. There is no team that Ten Hag can pick tonight that's not better than the one he picked on Saturday. So we should start to see better momentum and better movement. And it all starts with that Burnley win. And I want to see Amrabat starting in the midfield tonight. Personally, I'd like to see him play at CDM because I'd like to see an alternative to Casemiro. Longer term vision, I'd like to see Casemiro and Amrabat playing together, hopefully on Saturday. But I think Amrabat's got to start tonight. Mason Mount said that he's ready as well. Be interesting to see if he plays. But it really is about, I think we've got to take this cup seriously. I think that's where we are at the moment. I enjoyed winning the Carabao Cup last year. It's a trophy. I think, again, Pep Guardiola's getting a few shout-outs on this show, but Pep Guardiola has valued that trophy ever since he's been in England. I mean, they used to win it every year. So the Carabao Cup is an important trophy. We are the holders of it. We will take it seriously. I actually I'm sure a lot of you have seen the preview I did last night. He might Ten Hag might take this more serious than he needs to. He might well start Casemiro and Rashford, and I don't necessarily agree with that. But what I do want to see is I want to see Mason Mount playing 45 minutes. I want to see Amrabat playing, at least 60 minutes, take him off for the weekend. We've got to start seeing Man United get hold of games, and we're at home. I mean, Burnley had more possession than us at the weekend, didn't they? So I'm really looking forward to it tonight because I want to start seeing some progression. And these sort of games can be really important as well because obviously the Premier League and the Champions League, they're the games we want to watch. But these games are competitive and it's a chance for a team that's very disorganised, very disjointed to... pre-season games are okay, but this is a competitive game. All right, it might not be as important as the Premier League, but it's still a trophy that we're the holders of, and it gives us a chance to build some fluidity and confidence. So I'm really looking forward to it tonight, and I'm with you. I think Amrabat's got to play. And look, Mason Mount's interesting. I think with Mason Mount, a lot of people, just don't like the signing, but I think Mason Mount is interesting in the sense that Ten Hag is obsessed with him, and I think we need to start seeing what that obsession is. The XG philosophy said that the Burnley game, XG for Burnley was 1.28 and Man United's was 0.84. Well, I don't think that's sensational. I don't think that surprises anybody at all. I really don't. Can't wait for tonight's game. We've done that from Jack. Welcome to Members Club, Rob Hawks. And how can you say Jadon should apologise if he shows that he isn't up to it? Isn't fair that he stays away from the team? Isn't fair. Sorry, what's that? Animator says, how can you say Jadon should apologise if he shows that he isn't up to it? Isn't fair that he stays away. I think you contradict yourself there, mate. I don't really get the point. And Kieran says, it's been well documented that Sancho and Bruno argue on the pitch. Jadon's discipline issues seem to have come about since the captaincy changed too, says Kieran Smart. I mean, look, I don't know about individual relationships. All I would say about that is that Andy Cole and Teddy Sheringham didn't like each other at all, and we won a treble. So I don't really... I mean, you've got to be a certain age to know that, but I really don't care. I really don't care if Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford don't get on. I think they do. I mean, Bruno was the one who stopped at the car crash on Saturday night. So I don't think that they don't, but I wouldn't care if they didn't get on because it really doesn't matter. It's about professionalism. It's about being a team. It's about working together. And I think that... clearly, along the way, it's very well documented that Manchester United have lost their way in relation to recruitment with regards to personality and mentality. You look at the Newcastles and the Brightons, they have a nucleus of players that just work hard for each other. Manchester United don't have that. We don't seem to have relationships on the team. And I think it's a really, really sad observation, but we don't seem to have relationships on the team. And I've seen some great Man United sides, and I always go back to the '94 side with Ince and Giggs and Sharp and Keane and Bruce and Pallister and Irwin and Schmeichel and Cantona and Hughes, and they were in it together. I mean, Wimbledon were a shithouse of a team, horrible team, bullied everybody, but United had played Wimbledon and they beat them with their skill, but they beat them with the fight as well, because their work ethic was unbelievable. And I think Sir Alex Ferguson must look at these teams that Man United have put out in the last 10 years, and he must deep down be just stunned as to how we've recruited such a sorry set of players in relation to mentality, because it's not Manchester United. And it's sad that Man City and Arsenal and Liverpool and Brighton and Newcastle have basically put together teams that we were always the blueprint for. You had to be talented, but you had to work hard. The reason we beat Arsenal a lot in the late 90s and the early noughties was not because Wenger was bad. I always said Wenger's Arsenal technically was probably better than ours, better than our United side, but they couldn't mix it up. They didn't have the heart. They didn't have the desire. They wouldn't go to the depths of where we would go. We would go deeper. We would go harder, and they wouldn't do that. And it's sad that we don't have that now. Most teams in the Premier League will work harder than we will, and yet that was always the thing that we were good at. What if the club authorises 3 months off? Eric Ten Hag didn't, says Rory. And Van der Beek was in the squad last week. Do you think he's getting minutes? And what's his transfer status, says CCE? I think I did actually want to talk about Donny. I mean, what is the future for Donny? I think that it's interesting because Donny should have left in the summer, but Donny van der Beek's professionalism has never been doubted. Donny van der Beek would not put a tweet out about Erik ten Hag. Donny van der Beek has probably got more reason. I mean, it's a great point, actually. Donny van der Beek has probably got more reason across his 3 years at Manchester United to say, you know, he's been treated unfairly. And yet, he doesn't do that. And I think that's why Ten Hag will probably give him some minutes. I don't think Ten Hag sees Donny as part of his plans, and I agree with what a lot of people are saying is Donny's done at Man United, and he is. 100% was on the transfer list this summer and couldn't get a move. But I think what Ten Hag will do with Donny is, because Donny turns up and trains on time and works hard, he will go, look, you're sort of in this area where, look, you're not going to play ahead of Eriksen or Casemiro or Bruno or Mount or Amrabat, but in the McTominay Mabry role, you know, I think you can compete with them, and you might be able to get some minutes. So I don't think Donny's going to have a renaissance where he becomes an important player. He's behind Eriksen, Bruno and Mount. He's got no chance, absolutely none. But he will train, and Ten Hag will utilise him if and where he can. If everybody's fit, he won't be on the bench. In a Carabao Cup game like tonight, he might make the bench and he might get 20 minutes. Ultimately, for Donny, it's a very disappointing 4 or 5 months, but from Ten Hag's point of view, he'll be like, if you train hard and you work hard, we'll do everything we can to support you to get a move in January. That's what you do as a professional, isn't it? That's what you do. And that's what every player should be doing. Maybe it's going to be the same for McTominay. Maybe it's going to be the same for Harry Maguire. You've just got to get your head down and focus on the fact. I mean, look, McTominay and Maguire are a bit fortunate that they have international football to look forward to. Donny doesn't have that. But, yeah, it's. I don't think Donny will start tonight. I don't think he should start tonight, but he might end up getting a bit of game time. And that's the contrast, isn't it? There are players in that Manchester United team. I mean, look, I got... Sancho's big issue is, and he's deleted it, so I can't go back to it, but Sancho's big issue was that he wasn't getting game time. And I think that when you look at Harry Maguire, for example, I mean, starts for England, 4th, maybe 5th choice centre-back now, certainly behind Varane and Martinez. Lindelof, probably behind Johnny Evans now, has to be behind Johnny Evans now, based on Johnny Evans' performance against Burnley. 5th choice centre-back. I mean, he's wearing the number 5, not because he's a number 5, because he's the 5th choice centre-back at the moment. Now, is Harry Maguire going to put a tweet out? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. He can be criticised because he's not good enough, but he will not do that. He can be criticised because maybe people around him put stuff into the media, but he won't put a tweet out. He won't do that because he knows that that's going to damage him beyond repair, and he needs potentially to, 1, get a move, or 2, injury crisis, you get your chance. You don't. It's what I was saying about Sancho tonight. Anthony got suspended after he'd put the tweet out. If he hadn't put the tweet out, everyone would be saying, this is Sancho's chance on the right wing. The timing of it was ridiculous, and that's why you should always keep your mouth shut and bide your time for 2 reasons. 1, it makes you look professional for a move, if that's what you want, and 2, if an opportunity does present itself, you're professionally waiting to take it. But if you start kicking up a fuss and moaning, you won't get that opportunity. And I think that, you know, that fits for Donny, it fits for McTominay, it fits for Maguire. None of them should probably be at the club, but at the moment we've had a defensive. I mean, look, going back to Maguire again, Johnny Evans probably doesn't start against Burnley if Harry Maguire wasn't injured. So opportunities can present themselves, and you know, maybe there's an opportunity for Donny. I mean, we're only a couple of injuries away at the moment from having that situation where we might have to use Donny. But yeah, it'd be interesting. I think one area where at the moment, fingers crossed it continues, that we do have a lot of options is the attack. You've got Rasmus and Martial both fit. Martial's still fit. He's been fit for a month, maybe because he's not playing. I don't know. You've got Rashford and Garnacho. You've You've got Pellistri on the right. Ahmad will be back soon. As we know, you can't play Mount, Bruno, Ericsson, Amrabat and Casemiro. And I certainly think Mount will start, and I think Amrabat will start. So there's obviously stuff there as well. But look, we've got a match tonight, and I think wrapping it all up in a nice little bow. We've got a match tonight, and I can't wait for it. I'm really looking forward to it. And we've got a match on Saturday, and I, for one, would just love to read a story. It doesn't need to be a social media post. I would just love to read a story where it's obviously been leaked from the club that Jadon Sancho and Erik ten Hag have had a truce. He's back training with the first team. Happy photos. Move on. I don't care what the truth is behind it, but that's just what everybody should want, because it benefits the player if he wants to move or he wants to get back in the team. It benefits Ten Hag because it's another story buried, and it benefits us because we're not talking about it. And I just want us to get to that point ASAP. Jamie says Sancho's deactivated his Instagram account. Well, look, who knows why that is. That's not what we want, though. We want an apology. We want a resolution. We want a truce. And it's such an easy thing to do. And I don't know the full story here, but predicting the story, I would imagine there's a lot of resentment on both sides, and it never does anybody any good. There's never any winner there. You know, like people talk about revenge. Most people who get revenge will tell you it never accounts for the thing that pissed you off in the first place. It never really makes you feel any better. It's a bad trait, revenge, or wanting something to turn around like this. Realistically, just move on. Everybody just needs to move on. There's not going to be any winner in this. There really won't be a winner in this, and that's why they should have just sorted it out. But I guess we'll wait and see. And look, moving it further ahead, we also have to remember that in January, how do you solve this situation? He's on 300 grand a week. We paid 75 million pounds for him. How do you resolve that? When does his contract run out? I mean, he is potentially in a good position. I don't think he is in a great position. A lot of people say, well, the power's with him. He's on massive money and he costs lots of money. The power's not with him. Money doesn't buy you love, and money doesn't buy you happiness. He can't just sit there going, well, I don't care if you don't pick me. I'm on 300 grand a week and I'm going to go and play FIFA or EAFC. That's no good for a 23-year-old who has one life and probably wants a legacy as a good footballer. He needs to play football. If I could earn 300 grand a week and not play football, or I could earn 50 grand a week and play football, you know the choice I'm going to make. Some of you are going to be mercenary, I get that, but 50 grand a week to play football at the highest level, or 300 grand a week to not play football, screw the money. What's that money going to do? It's not going to make me happy. I'm going to get to go and play football. I'll just give me. You can have that 250 grand. I'll take the 50 every day of the week, because trust me, money ain't everything. You know, you want to have satisfaction. And look, Sancho's in a strong position. Yeah, he's got a contract. We're paying him 300 grand a week to do nothing, but he's not in a strong position. And if he thinks he is, he's got the wrong people around him. You need to be playing football, mate. You're a good footballer. You're a good footballer. I'm not going to change what I've said. I was very excited when we bought him. He's a good footballer. And he's only 23. So young. It's young. Some people, it's a young age. And, you know, in 2 years' time, this could be a distant memory. He could be 25 playing really good football somewhere. So he's got to play football. And United need to find a resolution. He needs to find a resolution. What's the point of an apology if it has to be forced out of someone? In my opinion, the window for apology is past, says Ankit. Well, you might be right there, because maybe Erik ten Hag is thinking exactly the same thing. It gets to a point where an apology really doesn't mean anything. But from a PR point of view, I've apologised. United would say to Ten Hag, look, he's apologised. Are you going to now do what he's doing and say, I'm not accepting it, and then we carry it on? We are ultimately a football club. We are ultimately looking. There's an element of business to this, of course. what damage is it going to do if he's back training with the team? Ten Hag might say big damage. Him back training with the team is a big issue, but I think that, you know, the ball's in Ten Hag's court then, and you would hope that he is the bigger man. And look, as a manager of people, Ten Hag is not going to be a petulant person and say, you know, look. The big example is, look at how Ten Hag dealt with Ronaldo. Ronaldo stormed off from the touchline on live TV with 75,000 people there and absolutely, you know, sent a very strong message to Ten Hag. He played for Man United 2 weeks later. So I don't think Ten Hag is stubborn in the sense that he can see a bigger picture, and he obviously saw the bigger picture there. Ronaldo's humiliated me. I won't trust him again. But the bigger picture is, I haven't got any strikers. He's still one of the better players in the world, and whatever the solution's going to be, he's better. Yeah, it's better off. It's that old adage, isn't it? Sometimes it's better to have your enemies inside the camp spitting out than outside spitting in, and that's what management's all about. Hi Mark, if we play a diamond in the midfield, do you think Bruno, Mount, Casemiro and Amrabat will work? Oh, Amit, what a great point. Can I just run a poll on this, actually? Sancho would have improved massively with a striker to focus and play with, similar to his time at Dortmund. Such a bad time to have a tantrum, says Jordan. Yeah, I agree. I just want to run a poll here. How do I word this? Do you want to see the diamond return? Yes or no? Do you want to see the diamond return? Yes or no? Now, my opinion on the diamond is that it was crap against Brighton and they absolutely exposed it. And I'm actually glad that if you're going to do something that's not going to work, it doesn't work straight away. Because if we'd played that diamond against Burnley at home, people would have gone, it's great, because we probably would have won. But Brighton exposed it within 10 minutes. It doesn't work. I don't like it. And it was terrifying against Brighton how badly it worked. I don't really want to see it. And I'll tell you why I don't really want to see it. Because it's not Manchester United. It's not Manchester United to not have wide players whipping crosses into the box. And that's just a DNA thing. Obviously, anything can work, and Ten Hag could work on it and make it work. But I don't feel like... I'll be honest, I'd be really sad if we spent the next 18 months working with a diamond system and I'm looking at Man City winning everything and they play a front three with two wide players. That would really disappoint me, because that would be like another thing that Man City have taken of ours and owned it. I think it is important. If you speak to Spurs under Conte and Mourinho, Spurs have always been a team that entertains. They don't win anything, but they entertain. And they have a style of play. Well, we definitely have a style of play. And our style of play is, you know, wingers putting crosses into the box, wingers, you know, exciting wingers, fast, play, risk-taking football, entertaining. And I don't think a diamond's the way for Manchester United to go, to be honest. And also, I think we're very stacked with wide players. So how are you going to do that? Well, you're going to play Rashford in a front two. I don't think a diamond suits this squad. And also, the problem with a diamond is 4 midfielders, one of them gets injured. What, have we got enough midfielders to play 4 midfielders? I don't think we have. I think you've got enough midfielders if everybody's fit. Casemiro, Bruno, Amrabat, Mount. One of them gets injured. It's Eriksen. 2 of them injured. It's McTominay. So I don't think we've got enough players to play a diamond. And then I think we'd have a lot of wingers on the bench. So I don't want to see it, really, if I'm being honest. Footballistic says, do you think that Mount, Casemiro, Bruno and Amrabat would work? I think one of them's got to play out to the right if we do that, to be honest. 35% of you would like to see a diamond. 65% of you wouldn't like to see a diamond. So there you go. Interesting stuff. Right, we have got a watch along tonight, and I'm very excited about it. I hope you are as well. We'll have countdown to kick off for you as well. All I'm going to say now is please do smash a like on the video, but please go and listen to the new podcast we've put out today. We're starting a movement against VAR, and I think we can make a difference. So the Goldbridge Saves Football podcast is out. Please go and give it a listen. You can listen to it while you're at work, put your earpiece in. Links in the live chat, and it's in the video description. And also, my favourite section of the podcast each week is Pratt's Pundit of the Week, and we've got 2 brilliant contenders this week. Pratt Pundit of the Week is basically where we take the comments of the week from the mainstream pundits and highlight 2 or 3 complete and utter prat ones, and then we vote who is going to be prat of the week. The one this week is very Manchester United centric, and it's just brilliant. It completely contradicts. They just look a prat. Check it out. Thanks everyone for watching. Oh, we've got one more super chat. Do you think it's hard to move on players for smaller wages because they have made investments based off their income and that they then would not be able to move due to financial commitments, as Raskit? No, footballers are on ridiculous money, mate. What are you trying to say? They can't afford the rent because they bought a house in Manchester? No, absolutely not. No, that's not. No. Thanks everyone for watching. Check out the podcast. Speak to you all in a bit. Legends as usual. Take care.